Hey, time to shine squad. It's Scott Ferguson, and I am super, super happy, stoked, and privileged to bring on my friend, Chris Baker. He is, just wait till you hear what he has to drop. I've vetted out all his websites. I've vetted out everything that's about Chris, and you guys are going to pick up some solid knowledge nuggets. But he was born and raised in England and moved to Orlando, Florida in 2011, where he became a leader with the Walt Disney Company. Wow. He is a certified coach and trainer in addition to being a human behavior consultant in DISC, which I've taken that test a few times, and in his mission to develop future leaders that can help change our world. Chris, thank you so much for coming on. Please introduce yourself to our squad. But first, what is your favorite color and why?
Well, hey Scott, and thanks for inviting me on. It's a pleasure to be on. My favorite color is blue. And why? Because I am originally from Leicester in England, and my football team, or soccer team as you'll know it, is Leicester City, and they play in royal blue. So blue is my color.
And we live in Florida. I mean, no matter where you live in Florida, you're no more than 63 miles from that big blue ocean on either side, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, blue and red kind of run with me. I can be red sometimes, but blue is mine as well. I think both of our shirts dictate that, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your origin story, where you started. I know you said in Leicester, England, but tell us a little bit about the story transitioning maybe to the States and then building your company.
Yeah, sure. So in the UK, I really early sort of age after I left school at 17, I bounced around a few careers and didn't really know what I wanted to do, and sort of found myself in 1989 in the retail automotive industry. So it was a car salesman. Stayed in there for 20 years and rose through the ranks to become general manager of car dealerships. And in that time, had a lot of sales training from people like General Motors and other manufacturers. And really sort of developed my passion for delivering customer service at that point and helping develop other people into roles. And it's funny because when I talk about car sales and customer service, people go, well, those two things don't go together, but they really did at that time. And so anyway, so then I needed a break. So I actually went to work on a cruise ship for 4.5 months, traveling the world, just as a break from the grind and the constant pressure of the car sales industry. And while I was there, I met a lady that became my wife, and she was American. So that's what brought me over to America and then down to Florida. So when I came to Florida, I knew that I wanted to work for Disney because, again, customer service was my passion, and Disney has got that reputation for being the best at customer service. So started with them, became a leader very shortly after that, and again then really worked on my developing people and my passion for developing people and helping to promote people where I could and just coach and mentor them. Did some work with Disney Institute where we worked with outside companies on how to develop internally but also develop your business. And that led me to, when I was approaching 50 years of age, to really sort of appraise my life and say, what do I want to do with my life for the next 15, 20 years? And that's where I really got into self-development and personal growth. So I became a certified coach, teacher and trainer with the John Maxwell team. I took my DISC certification with Personality Insights a year later, and really then started to promote myself as a coach and a mentor and trainer, which is what led me to set up my business. And it's really, that's where I am now, just wanting to help people and help people be the best they can be.
Let's dig a little bit deeper into that transition from being in the retail car sales. I mean, I'm a realtor for 21 years, so
Okay.
I'm kind of on that rung of a ladder with the car salesmen and attorneys. We're at that bottom of the barrel. No one wants to really talk to us. But tell the squad that aha moment that you had from wanting to transition. I understand you say you came up on 50 years of age and you really wanted to move into that personal development, but was there something that triggered you? Was it a health crisis or more time with the wife, or what really came up? Because I know the jobs you mentioned with Disney and retail car salesman, that's got to be really pulling you away a little bit from family.
Yeah. And it was it was really that, right? So in 2015, my marriage ended,
Oh, I'm sorry.
and I
Okay,
was
sorry.
no, that's okay, that's okay. But that was really the aha moment for me, to be honest, because at that point I was 49 years old, and it was, man, what have I done with my life, right? Because yeah, work has been successful, but it's taken me away from private life. So private life, to be honest, was a mess. And
Okay.
so that people talk about work-life balance, and there is no such thing as work-life balance. But what there should be is focus on work when you're at work and focus on life when you're at home, right? So
Sure.
focus on the home thing. And I'd found that my attention had always really been on work. And then when I wasn't at work, it was just, okay, well, let's have a release. And the family sort of came third, right? And that's
Right.
not good. And so my realization was, like, who am I really, right? What am I about? What am I wanting to do with my life? And actually at that time, or after that time, I was doing some work at Disney with actually facilitated Simon Sinek's book, The Find Your Why. And so we was doing that with a lot of teams at Disney, and I was like, I need to do this for myself,
Hmm.
right? So I did that, and that was the realization of who I am, who am I deep down, what really means more to me, and what do I want to do with my life. And it's more about the impact that I want to have on other people, rather than what am I doing myself. So it's that switch about moving to help other people rather than concentrating on me. And Zig Ziglar quote, where if you give everybody what they want, you'll get everything you want,
Sure.
right? And that was really the switch and the realization that I came. So
Right. I love
yeah,
that Zig Ziglar quote. And us here at the Time to Shine Today squad, we pull from a gentleman named Bob Berg. I don't know if you ever read The Go-Giver, but I
yeah,
strongly recommend it. But he's always says that your true worth is determined by how much you give in value than how much you take in payment. And you just said the
exactly.
same thing with Zig Ziglar. That's
Yeah,
that's awesome. I'm
yeah.
curious, Chris, what did you score on the disc? What was your high and low?
I'm a CD.
Are you? Okay.
Right. Yeah, I'm a CD. So the C is my really the sort of the calculating side of things. So wanting to dot the I's and cross the T's, and then the D is a go
Driven.
getter. Let's just get
Yeah.
on and do it. Right.
Perfect car salesman.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And more of the again the leadership side of things, right? Because I
Sure.
want things to be right, but I want people to get on and do it. I don't want people just to sit back and wait, right? Because
Right.
then nothing happens. So that's where I score. But as you know, on the disc, if you've done it, we're all a blend of all four of those
Absolutely.
communication styles, and on different days and at different situations, it will fluctuate and change.
Sure.
And it's really, for me, that the realization of that was more understanding where I am, but also being able to recognize where other people are, so I can change the delivery of the message
Okay.
so that other people receive it, right? And that's the key thing, is we're not asking people to, or not expecting people to change or change the message. It's change the delivery so that you can connect with other people.
Yeah, so you're not cookie cutter. So you're
Correct.
not just trying to put the same thing over and say, here's a script and use it. That's one
Yeah.
thing I love about John Maxwell's system. That's fantastic, and stuff that you pull up and learn.
Hmm.
For so on along those lines, then you're meeting somebody for the first time. How do you start to build a relationship with that person? Meaning a potential client, a prospect, if you will.
Yep. So most of the time is spent listening. All
Mhm.
right, which again is something that I would coach and train people in any sales environment, whether it's real estate, car sales, or whatever, is that we've got two ears and one mouth, and we should use them in that proportion. So it's really it's trying to get to know the person that you're talking to, and you do that by asking a question and shutting up and listening.
Sure,
All right, but
absolutely.
actively listening.
Right.
So it's also listening to understand, whereas what most people do is they listen to respond. All right, so as they'll ask a question, and the other person is starting to talk, and while they've started talking, automatically they're formulating their response. So actually, they're not really listening, right? So they'll miss the key things. And
Absolutely.
I coach people on this now, that in Disney and in other areas. So listen to understand rather than listen to respond.
Did you hear that, squad? Listen to understand instead of listen to respond. And I got to say that I fallen prey to that. I think everybody has. I'm so ready to get out my my 2 cents to
Yeah,
where it actually can cripple the conversation,
exactly.
and instead of like keeping it going with the flow, because really no one really cares what you are saying too much until they can
Right.
trust you as a coach. I mean, I have, some of my listeners out there and I coach them, and that's one thing. And my mother told me the exact same thing. It was
Hmm.
2 ears, 1 mouth for a reason. Shut the
Yeah.
hell up.
Well, and
And listen.
here's the other thing with that as well, Scott, is that people don't remember what you say, but they always remember how you made them feel.
Awesome.
Right.
Yeah,
So the feelings, the emotions is the important thing.
sure.
And you'll know when you've been in a meeting or you've been to a conference, by the time like 2 hours are gone, you've probably forgotten 50% of what you were told, right? And
Yes.
the next day, maybe 75% is gone. But
Yes,
you'll
sir.
always remember how they made you feel. And so that's the other key thing, by listening and being active in that listening and showing people that you care goes far, far more than what you actually say.
Excellent. So moving into this, um, the career that you moved into with helping people level up their life, give us a fail or a worst moment or a really big learning experience, something that was really challenging for you and how you overcame it.
So, well, that's a good question. I think the biggest challenge I think is actually remembering that it's not about you, it's about them.
Sure.
All right. So a lot of people I think will sort of prejudge what they think the situation is without actually understanding what the situation is for the person they're trying to help. And
That's strong. That's yes.
yeah,
Okay.
everybody is going through something. You don't know what's going in their life. They're all going through something. And as a coach and a trainer, I would say, yeah, this is the problem I'm trying to solve, and this is what I'm doing. But if people don't realize they've got that problem, it's difficult to create that connection.
Sure.
So again, that's where I think the understanding of how do I communicate that so it resonates with people? How do I help people to say to understand that actually they to come to the realization that they have got this problem,
Sure.
and what does that problem mean if it goes unchecked, and then how can I help guide them to a solution? Right. So that I think was the biggest realization, because I thought, well, hey, I've got Disney experience, I've got UK experience, I've got Maxwell certification and DISC. Everybody's going to want me to coach them, right?
Sure.
Wrong.
Wrong.
So
Right.
you need to help people understand, or to listen to them so you can understand what their problem is, and then provide a solution to that problem. So it's
And
about that transformation from where they are to where they want to be.
that's excellent.
Most people, if we're honest about it, don't know where they want to be.
Right.
All right. And if you don't know where you're going, you're not going to know when you get there.
Sure.
So that's the challenge. And have I overcome it yet? Not 100%, to be honest,
Sure.
because it's honing that skill and honing that technique
I don't
to
think we ever will.
no.
Like, and I've learned, and maybe you can concur with this, is that a lot of it comes with the power of the questions that you're asking to
Yes.
dig. Maybe does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
good
Yeah.
deal. Yeah, that's what I've found out, because everybody comes from different. They might have abandonment, or they might have lost a loved one. It's just really, you really need to dig, and that's what I love about your profession, and what I do as well, is we get to dig a little bit, and
Right.
the only way you can do it is ask the questions. And,
Exactly. Yeah.
it's funny, one of my most listened to podcasts was asking powerful questions of yourself, not even of other people,
Yeah.
because you will dictate your progression and leveling up by the powerful questions you ask yourself. That's excellent stuff, Chris. Let me ask you something. If you were to go back then to the 21 or 22-year-old Chris Baker,
Hmm.
maybe wrote a letter, maybe even went back in time, what would you tell Chris?
Well, I would tell him to dream big, to believe in your dreams, to understand who you are and why, what your values are, and stick to those. Right? What is important to you? What makes you feel alive?
Okay,
And then follow that.
gotcha.
And don't listen to people that tell you you're not capable, that you're not good enough, or
Right.
that it's too risky, that you might fail.
Who
Right?
cares? You fail forward. That's what we
Exactly.
always say, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So you made this transition at around 50 years old. what is the one big thing then that you want to accomplish before you're done?
What I really want to accomplish is changing the mindset of our young adults. Is helping them to realize that they can achieve whatever they want to achieve if they're prepared to put the work in and their desire and their passion is strong enough. So the sort of 13 to 18-year-olds, right, that are in an education system and in a system where we're not taught how to think, we're taught what to think. We're not taught to think about achieving things. We're just taught to get a safe job or a career. And to be honest, there is no safe job or safe career anymore.
Even in our environment right now, we're finding out real quick.
Exactly, right? So, and at that age, they are asked to make some major decisions that will dictate the path their life takes, whether it's going into college, what college degree do they do, or going into the career, what career do they follow? And so I want to help educate those so that it gives them that deeper understanding of who they are and what they want to do, and give them the leadership skills so that when they go into college or they go into the workplace, they've already got that foot up the ladder that will make them a viable and a valuable employee, right? So the
Sure.
businesses will benefit from it as well.
Right.
That really is what I want to do, is give every young adult the ability to choose their future and to understand why that's important. So it's basically maximizing their potential.
Well, that's selfless. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And we'll dig a little bit into that a little bit later in the show. So Chris, what's your definition of a life well lived?
A life well lived. It's no regrets, right, for a start.
Mm-hmm.
But it's fulfillment. So it's knowing that you made a difference. Right? And fulfillment is different to success and happiness, right? A lot of people will see that and they look and they say, well, I'm financially stable or whatever. That doesn't mean you've got a life well lived, right? That means you've got money in the bank.
Sure.
But a life well lived is fulfillment and satisfaction in knowing that you've given back to others and that you've given more to help other people.
Love that. I mean, you're a selfless. You're a go-giver. You need to write it down. You need to read the book, The Go-Giver by Bob Burke. He's actually a neighbor here in Jupiter, but he sent, I don't know, probably 20 million copies of the thing. It's a life-changing book, and it's written in a business parable. So It's not like, oh, you need to do this. It's about this guy who needs to close out a sale, and it's amazing. You got to read it. It's fantastic.
I will do that.
So. Being in the coaching business, when you're starting to work with somebody, is there any good question that you wish people would ask you but never do? And it doesn't even have to be coaching, Chris. It could be anything in life.
That they would ask me. I don't know that there is a question that I would want them to ask me necessarily. The question more that I would want them to ask themselves, right? And so here's a question that I've got in my book and I use it all of the time now. Is that, are you happy living under the average limitations imposed on you by other people, or are you ready to rise to the greater expectations of your inner self?
I love it.
All right, that's a question I want them to ask themselves, right? And I would ask them.
Gotcha.
And I think if I wanted them to ask me, I probably would ask them to ask me the similar question, right?
Sure.
So what was it that took, like you asked earlier, what was that aha moment that moved me from where I was to where I want to be?
Right.
And how did I realize that was okay at 50, where most people think that it's too late?
Right. Right. No, I'm like right up there, almost 50 years old. And it's like, I'm more excited now, probably like you were as well, moving forward than you were ever doing whatever you were doing. That's amazing. So let's take your cell phone out of an equation. Mm-hmm. What are the 3 things, and it can be people, places, or things. It could be a noun. 3 things you can't live without.
3 things. Here's one that's a big thing that again is a realization that's been fairly recent realization is forgiveness.
Wow, that is
Can't live
strong.
without
Never
forgiveness,
been. No one's ever said that. Okay, I love
right?
it. Okay,
And the reason being is that we've all got things that we harbor onto that we think we've compartmentalized, right, or locked away, but actually we all that does inside of us, it eats us up eventually. All
sure,
right, so we have to forgive and go, and that could be forgiving other people, it could be forgiving yourself.
sure.
All right, so forgiveness is something, and it's going to be an ongoing thing because it's always going to
Every
come when
day,
you're up. You've got to keep remembering to do it.
right?
So forgiveness is one thing. I think conversation is actually another, right? And what I mean by that is, and it's interesting you say forget your cell phone, because cell phones I think are the killer of conversations,
Sure.
right? Because we sort of get too used to texting or social media or whatever, and that conversation and connection with people, the interaction has got in a lot of people, right?
Okay.
You only have to see it when you're in restaurants or coffee shops or whatever, and people sat at the table all like on their phones together. And
Right.
it's not just people level it at the youngsters and the millennial population. It really isn't. It's everybody. So conversation, the art of conversation, is again something else. And I think the other thing is continual learning. I would say that since 2016, 17 to now, I've read more books and listened to more books on Audible than I'd listened to in the first 51 years of my life.
Really?
And I listen, I listen to Audible, or I read books every day.
Sure.
And I'll actually read the same book like multiple times now, because there's always something that you can pull out of it. So, and these books, I'm not talking about fiction books, I'm talking about books that you can learn things,
Sure.
right? So self-development and personal growth books. So that would be the other thing.
What's your go-to book?
I've got several at the moment. The 12-Week Year by Brian P. Moran is one that I'm listening to for the second time in a week at the moment. Simon Sinek, The Infinite Game, is a really amazing book. It's his latest book. And then there's another book by John Maxwell, which is called Today Matters.
Today Matters. Okay.
Because today is the only day you can actually make a difference.
Absolutely.
Can't do anything to yesterday, and tomorrow isn't here yet.
Yeah,
When tomorrow is here, it's today.
Let's deal with what's going on right now. Be mindful. Yeah. Love it. So we're going to move into our leveling up lightning round. Mm-hmm. I'm going to ask you 4 or 5 questions, and don't expand. I just want you to say something in 5 to 7 seconds. That's it. Okay. Ready? Here we go. What's the best leveling up advice you've ever received?
Be yourself.
Love it. Share one of your personal habits that contributes to your success.
Reading.
Love it. Other than your own website, and of course, timetoshinetoday.com, that's my plug, please recommend to us an internet resource that you go to level up your life.
I am a member of Empowered Living Community.
Me too. Okay. Excellent. Yeah. Favorite charity or organization that you support?
Second Harvest Food Bank.
Love it. That's strong. And the best decade of music, 60s, 70s, 80s, or 90s?
80s.
All right. Love it. Love it. So before we sign off, and can you please tell us how to find you?
Yeah, sure. I'm on pretty much all social media platforms. So Facebook, I've Chris Baker, and my business is called Release Your Unconscious. I also have a private Facebook group called Leadership Excellence with Chris Baker.
Okay.
On Instagram, Chris Baker RYU. On LinkedIn, again, Chris Baker RYU. And then my website, chris-j-baker.com.
Okay. I'll have all that in the show notes, everybody. And please visit all of them. And tell us, you wrote 10 Steps to Freedom book?
Yes.
Okay, and that's on Amazon?
10 Steps Freedom is available on Amazon in paperback or on Kindle.
Love it. Okay. And then, can you tell us a little bit about the Acorns Two Oaks Leadership Program that you'll be launching here?
Yeah, so Acorns Two Oaks Leadership Academy is really expanding on what I was saying earlier. I want to take the Acorns, which is the 13 to 18-year-olds and turn them into oak trees. All right, so that's taking a potential and turning it into a really rock solid person. And so the academy is really going to be aimed at the 13 to 18-year-olds plus their parents, all right, their parents or guardians. Because
True.
what I know is that if I just worked with the youths, but their parents don't buy into it, that connection goes. So I want the youth and their parents to grow through this program together. So it's going to be a series of 2 to 3 hour workshops that are live that then go into an 8-week online program.
Okay.
And my idea is that it will actually be free for the youths and their parents, because I'm going to be going to businesses to sponsor it.
Okay.
So the businesses will benefit because their employees and their future employees will be learning leadership skills, which will make them better employees. And therefore the youth and their parents can go through this program. And then, there'll be an ongoing membership program for them to continue learning and growing in the future months and years.
And I love that. Like with acorns, there's a gestation period that has to happen before it turns into an oak. And part of the gestation, what you just mentioned, like if you have one acorn, there's millions of acorns on an acorn tree, but one falls in the ground, it's like it still has to be watered, fertilized for that to grow into an oak. And you getting the parents involved is part of that, which is fantastic. So thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
And last thing, leave us with one last knowledge nugget that you want our listener and our squad to walk away with, please.
I think, and I'll take something that is in the 12-week year, and it's you have two lives, right? You have the life that you're living, or the life that you're capable of living. Whichever you choose is up to you.
Right.
And I believe we are all capable of living a lot more fulfilling life than we are now.
Real
and
strong.
we should be growing every single day. Right?
And that
There
power
is no
within
finish line to this journey.
Right, there isn't.
It's
Right.
just keep going and growing all the time. And so that's the question. Do you want to live the life you're living, or do you want to live the life you're capable of living?
That's strong. That's awesome. So squad, you just had about 25 solid knowledge nuggets dropped on you from my friend, Chris Baker. And I picked up kind of like, people don't remember what you say, but how you made them feel. Listen to understand, not to respond. And then when you leave somebody or you meet somebody, know that you've made a difference. And I know that as Chris and I have been rocking the mic here, I know that he's made a difference in my life. He seems humble. He seems hungry. He's leveling up his health. He's leveling up his wealth. And you're part of our squad now, Chris. So thanks so much for coming on.
Oh, I
really appreciate it. I'm very grateful.
Yeah, I'm humbled to be part of the squad. So look forward to growing with you all.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris. We'll see you.
Thank you.